Hello, youth workers. Welcome to Bright Future Friday session. Today we have an exciting session on different health-related industries and environmental health-related industries. I'm really excited to have a great group here today. My name is Eric, if you haven't met me here yet on our Bright Future Friday sessions. And now we're going to have Pat Mikos from BCCC talk a little bit about themselves and the college. Take it away. Oh, wouldn't it be a session if we didn't have a you go for it.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Pat Mikos from Baltimore City Community College, your community college in the city. We have a range of programs, of course, our traditional associate degree programs that lead to several careers in health, in nursing, in biotech, and other related careers. I wanted to talk today about some of our job training programs, which are shorter in length. They're all designed so that you can learn, you can get into a part of a field and be working within 6 months as you start your career. So those programs, do I advance the slide or you?
You'll be able to advance it, yes.
All right. I don't think I can. You could just advance it.
Sorry, I'm not able to, but...
Okay, let's try this. Hold on.
Yeah. Thanks for being patient with us. Here we go.
All right. So just a reminder that Baltimore City Community College, as a Baltimore City student, we have many programs that offer free tuition, scholarships, and lots of options for part-time, full-time, degree seeking, or job training programs. And so we would love to have you at the college. We have the main campus up on in Northwest Baltimore on Liberty Heights Avenue, but we also have our biology and human services programs at Biopark downtown. We have some other programs in the harbor at our harbor location, and our IT programs are mostly out on the Reisterstown Plaza Center. So we have campuses all over the city. We will support students wherever they are in their journey, and we have a lot of wraparound services to help you be successful. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of different scholarships and training programs to make sure that you can access whatever you want at the college at no cost or very low cost. So what we wanted to focus on today were around the career pathways. So it's important that you discover what area or what field of study you want to be in, whether that's healthcare, what we're going to focus on today, or other areas like engineering or math and sciences, or the fine arts. Baltimore City Community College has a range of career pathways. We have programs that help you in every step of the way. So you can come in a workforce training program, get started in your career, earn your certificates, and then work on to your degree. So in this example, you might start in a nursing program, a certified nursing assistant, go on and do a practical nursing certificate into your nursing degree. We have a range of programs. I know today we wanted to focus on the healthcare, health and biosciences. I wanted to just highlight two of those before we talk more specifically about other careers. Our largest program is the Certified Nursing Assistant, and then our newest program is a Community Health Worker. So one is the Certified Nursing Assistant, which is very much patient-focused. And so you're working directly with patients. You can be in a hospital or a long-term care facility. You're certified by the Maryland Board of Nursing. In the program, you cover anatomy and physiology. You talk about the lifespan, human growth and development, and disease process, nutrition, everything you need to be a certified nursing assistant. And then you'll do a 40-hour clinical experience on the way to getting your license. The community health worker program is very different. You're in the healthcare setting, and so you're supporting people. Oftentimes you're working in a hospital setting, but it's not a clinical position. It is one that works with patients and clients to help them navigate the healthcare system and to help be healthy. It is also certified by the Maryland Department of Health. And so the training program has some specific skills that you learn as a part of the program. And again, you do a clinical experience in that healthcare setting and are certified by the Maryland Department of Health. So this is just two of the sample programs that we have at the college. You're going to hear from some folks working across health and biology sciences, and all of those opportunities are available. You can start all of those opportunities at the college. So I'm going to turn it over to the team, and if you have questions at the end, I'll be available.
Eric, do you want me to start? Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Dr. Megan Strobel. I am a veterinarian who practices at the National Aquarium. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it is a large public aquarium that also tries to get conservation messages and conservation initiatives out there. So as my part of the role, it's a very big aquarium, and Casey will also be talking about kind of what she does there. Very large aquarium, and pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis is take care of the animals that live in the aquarium. So a large diverse collection of reptiles, amphibians, birds. We have some dolphins, fish, and sharks, and other elasmobranchs. So pretty much my day is never the same. I will frequently have exams in the morning, and then either meetings or paperwork and things like that in the afternoon. Or my day could be responding to a whale that has stranded on the beach, and we go out to Ocean City and have to take care of that guy. Sometimes we will have seals that need to be rescued, or sea turtles as well. So no day is very similar, and that's kind of what I do.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm one of the herpetologists here at the aquarium. So we have 3 herpetologists up in the rainforest and an additional 2 that take care of the reptiles and amphibians in the Australia exhibit. So I work alongside Megan, helping to take care of our animals both on their good days and their bad days. And so I take care of a very large collection of mostly dart frogs, but some reptiles as well, some turtles, the caiman that you'll see in the Amazon River forest as well. I would say we probably have over 500 animals that our department alone takes care of, including all the ones in our open rainforest exhibit. So a large portion of my day is spent not only taking care of them, but maintaining their feeder colonies too. So fruit flies, dart frog, or crickets, all those type of things that the animals require in order to survive.
Oh, well, you all do such interesting work. It looks like for this very moment, we have Teddy Martello.
Sure.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Teddy. Sorry I can't be on the video with you. I work for the city of Baltimore. It's the Department of Recreation and Parks that houses the Urban Forestry Division. So if you were to step out in front of your house one day and notice a large dead hanging branch from a tree above, and that's like maybe a place where you park your car on a regular basis, and you'd think, oh, well, somebody ought to look at that. Then you would call 311 to report this hazard, and that generates a service request in the city's citywide database for service requests. So one of my jobs is to essentially log into the database for the zip code I've been assigned, 21217, and pull up all the lists of service requests that citizens have placed. So my job looks a little bit like some office time, sifting through the database and spreadsheets, but it also involves some field time where I travel to the site, look at the tree, and either create a work order or close out the request if I don't see a major hazard. Additionally, we do tree removals and stump removals, which leads me to the initiative that we have had going here in Baltimore City since 2008 under Mayor O'Malley. This mayoral initiative was signed, and it's called the Tree Baltimore Initiative to plant trees. So this is all about planting the new up and coming trees that will contribute to our long-term canopy. We've always had the services of removing hazardous trees that are large and have existed on the landscape, but we really in 2008 saw this important goal to continue planting the future trees. Today we have about a 28% canopy coverage, so that's like flying over the city and looking down, you see 28% of the landmass is covered in green canopy. The urban tree canopy, guidelines nationwide are that all cities should really be aiming for 40% canopy coverage. So we have a ways to go, and I have sort of the fun job of engaging the community about how important it is to have trees in the environment, whether that's along the street or in your front or backyard. And most recently, in the last 2 years, I've been fortunate to kind of take this and run with it. Essentially, I'm working on some nature-informed mindfulness, what we call nature therapy, and it's taking a more holistic approach to engaging our citizens. How are we connected to this earth, and how is our own human health affecting the state of the planet today? So I'm excited to share with you a few things that I've picked up along the way.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And actually last week we had a couple representatives from Indigo who do a lot of social and emotional learning work at their camp, kind of in a nature, like outdoors, thinking about nature. So that's pretty cool. Kind of very similar kind of goals there as well. And when you were mentioning that you help out with when branches fall down and things like that, I was imagining this massive tree that had fallen down after one of those big storms across the street from where I live, and just completely wiped out the power for a night for me. So the work you do is definitely important, and we appreciate it. I also wanted to highlight a comment we got from Faith. They're taking a psychology dual enrollment class at BCCC, and I appreciate you sharing that. I love the excitement for BCCC. And off of that, I would love if, Pat, you'd answer our first question. What was your first job ever and your first job in your current industry?
Oh, goodness. Well, my first job ever, I think, was newspaper delivery. This was a long time ago when people got newspapers, and I had a bicycle and would go at very early in the morning to deliver newspapers to people's house, which we don't do that anymore, but that's how old I am. But my first job in education, it was as a teacher, and I did teaching as a part of my graduate school. And then when I finished, I did some more teaching and then started working for the college, developing programs, which was way more fun than the very early newspaper delivery.
My first job was as a camp counselor at a think it was a middle school that had like a summer camp. I don't remember how old I was. And then my first job in my current field was as a veterinary technician. So kind of like a veterinary nurse. And I worked in a like private practice dog cat, like whenever you brought your dog to the vet, and it also kind of was an ER too. So that was my first job.
My first job, I think, was probably pet sitting. So taking care of neighbors' animals while they were out on vacations. I did a lot of kitten rescues and animal rescue stuff related to that. And then as far as in the field, I kind of feel like even though it was an unpaid internship, the start of my career was getting an internship at the National Aquarium as a herpetology intern here in the Rainforest Department.
My first job was on a golf course, Baltimore Country Club, and it kind of got me outdoors a little bit. I was able to prep the golf carts and get them ready for the morning tee off. I never played golf really, except for maybe some mini golf, but it was a fun job. Just got me outside during the summer. A few years later, my first job in the industry, not as much on the like mental health side of things, but certainly in the environment, was working for the USDA Forest Service. I decided it was time I'd leave Maryland and just see what else is out there, explore the world. So I took a job in Idaho on the Sawtooth National Forest, and we were repairing trails. We were, you'd suit up in the Forest Service uniform and interact with visitors and check permits, things like that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. I realized that this whole time that we've been doing these Bright Future Friday sessions, I haven't actually answered this question. And so my first job ever was as a high school sports camp counselor, working with kids on making sure that they know how to play baseball and that they don't throw too many tantrums outside. These were like 6 to 9-year-olds. So that had a lot of challenges in and of itself. And then kind of my first job that's sort of in my industry now was as a youth nutrition educator. So kind of still working with younger kids, both from elementary through, and then also through high school, trying to help youth understand what is eating healthy, what does that mean, and having fun with it. Just to share a little bit more about myself. So we are getting a lot of questions specifically related to animals. I don't know if you all panelists are looking at the questions. For instance, we have one individual who wants to know your opinion on penguins. What is your opinion on penguins? Anyone?
I love penguins. Penguins are really fun to work with. They are, they have a lot of character. They're kind of mean, sassy. I love it. It's super fun. I love penguins.
Nice. And then, Casey, I think this might be more related to you, unless I kind of misunderstood which animals you work with. But what is your favorite reptile to take care of?
That's a good question. A large portion of my day is spent taking care of amphibians, so I'm definitely more of a frog person, but probably our yellow-footed tortoises. They're just really personable, so I think they're pretty enjoyable to work with.
Awesome. All right, so we have some other questions here, some a little bit more kind of serious, really thinking about kind of what inspires us to do the work that we do now, and what gives you motivation. So sometimes a question like this can be tough on certain days, and then other days you really feel that motivation. But I really am curious what our panelists would like to say about this. Pat, do you want to go for it?
Yeah. Actually, I can think of the reason I do it, what motivates me is when I see people coming through a particular training program because they're interested in it, and it doesn't matter if it's somebody who's starting off as a nurse, or the most recent student I can think of is a young man who was actually in our construction program, and then as a result of it got an apprenticeship in with a maintenance and electrical company. And this was about a year ago. He thought that's what he wanted to do. And as he got trained and then he started working with this apartment complex in the internship and they trained him more, he just really loved it. And so I ran into him like a year after he had been working. And it just was really satisfying that you can give somebody the opportunity to learn something, and when they like it and they do well, they just, it makes their day and it makes your day.
Nice. How about the rest of the panelists? Teddy, or Megan, do you want to go for it?
Sure. For me, every day is different, like I kind of said earlier. And in traditional veterinary school, you are always learning about your domestic animals. So your dogs, your cats, your cows, your horses, pigs, sheep is pretty much what you learn about in vet school. And so one of the really cool things about my job in particular is that we have to get creative. I see a bunch of questions asking, like, how do you handle the animals? How do you treat an animal that you have a certain treatment option for in a dog, but an animal that maybe processes its food differently or is like this big, like some of Casey's patients. And you always have to be very creative. And so the creativity is both super frustrating and very motivating because you're always trying to come up with something new.
I think what people don't realize all the time is that caring for animals isn't just caring about the animals, especially in our field. We're also playing a large role in shaping how people see the world and how people grow. So we are involved in conservation education with our guests. We're involved in behind the scenes tours where we're interacting with people who maybe are a little more interested or invested in animals. And then we're also the ones that are training and teaching volunteers who maybe just have an interest in animals or are looking to go into this career. And we're involved in helping with interns and things who are looking, they know that this is the step that they want to take in their career and then their education. So I'm definitely motivated, especially when you then hear how their lives turn out. It's nice to hear that, the frogs that I loved and that kind of persuaded me to work at the aquarium when I was 8 years old and saw a blue frog and was like, oh my God, there's blue frogs in the world. Those same things happen to people who visit that we interact with too. So we're kind of shaping that future.
I think I'd say that the inspiration that I have to do the work that I do is the earth itself. I have a practice that I call sit spot, where on a daily basis, I go and sit in that spot. Usually, more recently, it's been the porch. It's been a place that I can access on a daily basis without having to travel very far. Even if it's for 5 minutes, I'm just sitting still and observing my surroundings. I'm listening to the bird song and watching the sunrise. These are experiences of awe that for me just help me remember that I'm a human on the planet and that I have a great responsibility. I'd say other than that, like on a more human to human anecdote, I just really enjoy supporting people within their neighborhoods to do that greening and beautification work within the block by block. I saw a question earlier about where do we plant the trees. And so I don't really I plant trees, but I don't plant too many of those trees. Really what it is people coming to me or to our office saying, we want to plant trees. And that's really how we prefer to operate anyways, is to not necessarily come into a neighborhood and say, hey, trees are good for you, we're going to plant them. It's more like getting the word out, and then people hear about us and they come to us and we get to engage them and say, well, how can we, work together? So, to answer the question from earlier, it's like along the street curb, like where you'd see cars would park, just up above the curb there along the sidewalk. Those are really small spaces for trees to grow, but they can contribute quite a bit of shade and rainwater capture. They can filter the air and just cool the environment in these often mostly concrete environments. So they're just absolutely essential for the human health, for it to be an enjoyable place to be. I've been here since 2015. I can point to some trees that I got to witness planted in 2015 that now 7 years later are, 30 feet tall and 30 feet wide, and they're shading and there's birds, and it's just really a magical thing to watch these sentient beings grow. So my inspiration is just the earth itself.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. And I appreciate you also talking about like a way that you do self-care that also helps kind of inspire you in the work that you do. So thanks for sharing that. All right. So we're going to jump to another question, kind of off of that, talking about what inspires you, what motivates you. What led you to pursue the specific work that you do now, the work in your industry?
So my position is a little different because I work on training programs, job training programs, and I do that because I think work, what a person does in their life, specifically their job, is defining for that person, rewarding for that person, and the means by which they provide for their family, their friends. And so I think work is really, really important. We spend, in America, the standard is a 40-hour work week, which is a lot of time. So it's important that what we do is something we like. So it's important to know that we're going to pursue a career in something that interests us, that we like, that we want to do, that's rewarding. So that's why I do what I do, is because I think work is important and being good at it is important.
I got into this field kind of because I grew up seeing kind of the changes that we were making in the world for negative reasons. Like I would see animals that were injured by boat strikes because I was lucky enough to grow up in Florida. And I would see manatees with like little cut marks on their backs. And I was like, why is that happening? How can I work with that? How can I educate people about saving those animals and why they're important? And it kind of blossomed from there. I was super interested in marine biology and I wanted to pursue a career in marine biology. And then in high school, I took some anatomy classes and became really interested in medicine, kind of from the same desire to heal animals and heal people. So I actually pursued a career for medical like human doctor kind of things first. And then I realized that I could combine my two interests into being a like marine animal veterinarian. And that's kind of, it went from there.
I think I kind of always knew that I wanted to work with animals. I can think back to being like a really small child and asking my mom, what job lets you be around animals all day? And her saying veterinarian. And I was like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. And I thought for sure all the way through high school and into college that I was going to go into veterinary medicine. And I actually even started a vet tech program. And once I started the program, I realized that it just wasn't quite the right fit. And so I took a moment and I tried some other college courses, and in the process realized that I was more suited to be a keeper, that I love that I still get that part of that medical stuff. I mean, we were taking x-rays of a frog earlier today. So I still get that part in my life, but at the same time, I'm much more involved in the daily care of those animals. So I get to dedicate all of my time to something that I really love. So that's ultimately how I ended up where I was at, was kind of through a long path.
And I entered college as a freshman, taking engineering courses, thinking I would be an engineer. I thought I liked math and physics and science, and found out pretty quickly that I was not really interested in like computer software and being in front of a screen all day. I still am in front of the screen quite a bit with my current job, but part of my job gets me out in the field. So I really like the balance. So, when I was in college, I decided not to do engineering, that I was going to look into the College of Natural Resources. And I ended up with a degree in outdoor recreation, which is sort of not available at all colleges, I wouldn't say, but it just really interested me because there was this human social element to it and how we connect with the natural world. It wasn't just strictly about physiology or tree biology. But that being said, I did learn forest ecology and wildfire ecology. I learned tree biology, and we had to learn 220 different kinds of tree species and learn their Latin name. And they would like point to a tree, and we'd have to write down the common and Latin genus species name. And we were often using our senses. We would use our hands and sense of touch to understand the texture of a leaf. We would chew on a twig to get an aroma or a flavor. And these sort of, very tactile clues like really helped me learn the best. Not so much like in a textbook or on a training module computer, but more just like hands-on learning, going to the forest and seeing different treatments from logging and seeing, how Earth respond to that. I found it really interesting. So for me, that's kind of how I ended up in the field. And I'd say to add on to that, just being a proud citizen of Baltimore, having grown up in Lutherville, so it's like right outside of the city, having grown up, helping my dad with his family business in the city, just always feeling like I'm a part of this larger thing. And so working for the city government has been just an amazing way to meet all the change makers, whether it's, someone within my own department at Rec and Parks, or it's a concerned citizen on a block of a neighborhood that could use some revitalization. I just really enjoy, getting to meet all the different people.
So could I add, while Baltimore City Community College doesn't offer the environmental science program that Teddy described, or the forestry or recreational studies that Teddy described, colleges in Maryland do. We have Allegheny Community College, Garrett Community College, and Frostburg State has an amazing program. And so as students in Maryland, even though you're graduating a Baltimore City high school, you can go to any college in the state of Maryland. And we do have some great programs all across the state. And the ones that Teddy described are mostly on the western part of the state.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing those details there. And as you all have been talking about what led you to pursue work in your field, I was kind of thinking about my studies in college, and I studied public health. So thinking about health from a broader sense, and kind of, if you're listening to the first job in my field, I was working with youth, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am now at YouthWorks, and really trying to work towards supporting summer youth employment for all of you, and as many Baltimore City youth 14 to 21 as we can reach. So thanks so much for sharing, all of you, and let's keep it rolling. So we had a really nice, interesting question here. What lessons has your job taught you? Let's go for that one. Pat, what do you think? What lessons has
I'm sorry, I'll go first.
Yeah, no.
So I think I work with people, and what I've learned over the years is people are very resilient. People work hard at something, they become good at it, or sometimes they don't, but they're resilient in that they keep trying, and they may do something for a while and then move on to something else, or if they're not successful, they just keep trying. And that I love the most about. And I didn't realize that people are that persistent and resilient across their life. And it pays off, and it's a good thing.
I think the biggest one for me is that it's okay to be wrong. Life is, I'm always working with animals who have diseases and illnesses. And sometimes you are very surprised by, kind of like what Pat said, the resilience of animals as well as the crazy degree to which they almost mask illnesses. We're working with wildlife. Sometimes, their first clinical sign that there's something seriously wrong is that they stopped eating, and there's this chronic process that has been happening to them for months. And accepting, like, personally, that you cannot win every battle, and that sometimes life is very surprising, was a big lesson for somebody who tends to be like a controlling person, like A-type personality. People surprise you. Animals surprise you.
It's a really hard question. What I've learned from my job, efficiency and time management, I think, is a really big part of our everyday, on like a literal sense. I also realized once I had this job, and compared to other jobs, that I need and benefit from a like-minded community of individuals. So having people who you can kind of come together, you can do work independently, but you can come together as a team every day and feel like they have your back, is something that I really appreciate at my job.
I think what I've learned is that while I am like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to trees and how they benefit, and how to tell one type of tree from the next, is that through some of the tasks I've been given at my job to engage the community, I see the value in not being always the authority figure who knows everything. I just come to recognize more and more this two-way dialogue. So, for example, I will go to a farmer's market and set up a table and put some little 1-gallon nursery stock trees, little tree seedlings. They're usually 3 or so feet tall, and set them out on the table. Invite people to plant a tree in their yard, and I get all sorts of responses from people. We're just out there in the public. Not everyone really knows about trees, so this is their chance to kind of learn what I know about it, but I also get a chance to see on their end. What I've learned over the years is that not everyone trusts the local government. If they agree to have a city agency or a nonprofit group like plant a new tree, that they might be worried about this scary looking tree down the end of the block that has been dropping branches, and so like it's important that I learn is just to hear what other people have to say, just as much as I'm offering information, because I might have a better understanding of why a neighborhood would be resistant to rekindling their tree canopy, or have get volunteers together to plant these trees. And more and more I'm hearing volunteering is great. It's a great way to engage communities and have people involved in the process. But at the same time, we just need more jobs. So I'm just really glad to see groups like Baltimore Tree Trust, this nonprofit, and they have 10 or more staff on hand. They've been going a little slow recently just with the heat advisory. But I mean, they're planting thousands of trees every year. We really only have about 50,000 more locations to plant trees, but this is going to be a continual discussion or dialogue between the citizen and the city official or the nonprofit group that's sort of being the ambassador, that's sort of like I heard earlier, kind of shaping the way people think about the world. It is really important, but at the same time, it's important to understand where other people's experiences may be, have a negative experience, or maybe that they're just connecting with a tree because it's beautiful, not because it's capturing stormwater or lowering temperatures, but it's just pretty to look at. And so that's what I've learned over the years is I'm learning from regular everyday people.
Great. Well, thank you all for sharing those important lessons that you learned from your job experience. I think from what Teddy was saying, really learning how to listen to others and pay attention to what you're hearing from others that you're working with, whether it's coworkers or clients or whatever you're doing. Really keenly listening to others is definitely an important skill, just to highlight that lesson that we just learned. So off of that, we got one more question for you all. What advice do you wish you had received as a young adult when starting off your professional journey? So we were kind of just talking about lessons that you've learned in your current job. Let's kind of go back and think about what advice you wish you had received back when you were starting off professionally.
I think I probably would have benefited from branching out more and working with people with different organizations. I think when I started, I thought, well, this is my job. I do my job, and I was very focused on one group of people or one project, and it's usually a better project, and you have a better work life if you work in teams, if you work across teams and you work with a lot of different people. So reaching out and working with different people and seeking that out and supporting it would be the lesson I would learn.
I would kind of say something similar. I wish that I had been told that it's like to explore different fields a little bit more. I was always very focused on health and medicine in particular. And I think that there's even so many options within just health and medicine, like the pulmonology, the people who work the bypass machines, super cool. And just kind of taking advantage of the experiences, kind of like Pat said, as they come to you and saying, okay, this is something I may be interested in. What is related to it that I might enjoy even more? And just be more open to different experiences, rather than having like a very set mindset that I had.
I would say kind of that similar, that experience is a big thing, at least for our field. If you're looking to get into working with animals, experience is everything. You can only do so much education wise, but if you're not used to handling the animals or used to the physical labor of that job, then that's what counts on your resume when you go to apply for positions. And then the other thing is you never have more time than you have right now. So the older you get, the less time you have to teach yourself new things. So when we have interns in, I always suggest to them, take as many different opportunities as you can. So even if it's a free 2-hour online course about, something biology related, go ahead and take it, because now that that I'm in the field, I realize that that's much harder to do. To take a 6-hour a week course is much more difficult to fit in between working 2 jobs. And then the other thing is ultimately to do what you love and try to find a way that makes that work. So I remember going and applying to jobs and going for interviews, but then coming home crying because I thought, if I get the job, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be doing a job that I don't love. So instead, I do a job that I love, and maybe I make a little less money, and maybe I have to work a second job, but I enjoy every day, good or bad, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So I think that those would be the key things that I'd recommend.
And I'm just really humbled by some of the emerging fields that are arising before us. Like, we all know that the planet is in danger, and it's up to us, right? Like, the human project is in need of some updates. And I think with my kind of traditional school learnings, we talked a lot about the social elements, like how do you make visitors to a park, whether it's Druid Hill Park or a national park somewhere, how do you make them mindful in a place so that they are fully appreciating it, and not littering and throwing trash, and that they're really just mindful in the space. And I think what I wish I had known or delved into further was just on this social element, but more within the realm of a field called eco-psychology. And it really just speaks to this notion that what's called for is like a reshaping of ourselves. You might call it like a shift in consciousness. And that's something that I'm able to do now on a daily basis. I mentioned the sit spot. It's just a time to kind of slow down and to check in with myself and to see how all these little connections. I could be sitting in one spot for 20 minutes and not notice until 20 minutes an ant that's crawling on the ground beneath me, and all of a sudden I feel, connected to that. And I just think that this has a lot of implications, and it's a very human way to connect with other humans, just like, witnessing ourselves and each other together. So like, the nature therapy walks that I'm guiding with Rec and Parks as our programs. These are chances for people to just come together, sort of each one teach one. So I kind of wish I was kind of turned on to this rewilding and the eco-psychology stuff earlier, but I'm still, just very humbled with like sort of this return to indigenous ways of being and ways of knowing, because we can't deny that, we're somehow connected to our ancestors, and that for many years we had circles of people that were sharing around in a circle. These are just really powerful, beautiful sessions that we have. We do them at our Silburn Arboretum. We do them at Leakin Park beside the Orianda Mansion. We'll bathe in the atmosphere of the forest and be smelling the magnolia blooms in April, and we get to see the wildlife all around us. We get to just slow down. We get to turn the phones off and just be. I think that's the main thing that I kind of wish I had been turned on to a little earlier, but I'm super excited and humbled to just continue this journey of like, how do I hold space for communities and for people to do their own healing with the help of nature, and how in return can we help a green space, if it's a community garden or just a small green space in a neighborhood, or if it's in the deep woods of the Leakin Park. How can we access the nature that is right under our noses on a regular basis to maintain our human physical, mental, spiritual health?
Well, Teddy, that was such a beautiful and a peaceful description of nature and how you appreciate it and help others appreciate it. I feel very at peace right now after that. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate all of you panelists. I want to thank you again for joining us today. I really think you all shared some really insightful knowledge and experiences. And I also want to thank all of our audience members today. Happy Friday. I hope you all have a great weekend. And just thanks again to everyone who joined us today. And have a good one. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.
Yeah.